Everybody, and welcome into the 2013 Wildcat Football Preview Show, the maroon-white game here from the Charles E. Bailey Sportsplex. Brett Pritchard and Randy Lee here with you for the next hour to hour and a half, depending on what Mother Nature directs us to do out here. But right now, overcast skies, got some rain going to be moving in. We're in the middle of the 9th grade game, which will precede the varsity coming up here in just a little bit. I hope the rain holds off, Randy, because this is the culmination to spring football, and a lot of these kids getting out here in some real game action. Coach Horn, Coach Hines over here on the 9th grade staff, all the assistant coaches, this is an opportunity for them to see what they've been working on over the last 3 weeks.
It's always helpful, too. You've got the film crew up there, Coach Elliott, and you'll be able to go back and see your mistakes and things that you need to correct. And that's the most important thing with spring, is you're able to learn something. You know, you don't have a game coming up next week. You don't have to prepare for other teams. You're preparing for what you plan to do, especially offensively. And then defensively, you can kind of get used to what's going on. And the beautiful thing about high school football now is everybody's so versatile, and a lot of teams spread it out and do the same things, like the 7-on-7 tournaments that we'll see this summer. So the more that you can get, the better, Brett.
And a lot of points put up in here in this game so far through 3 quarters. Randy, and before we go into the varsity and talk about their season and talk about last season and all, this 9th grade team is very impressive. It is loaded with athletes on both sides of the football, both defensively and offensively. Some big kids. This is one of the bigger looking groups I've seen in quite some time on the 9th grade squad. And some of these guys will have an opportunity as the year goes on to probably bounce up and play a little varsity. But a lot of good guys in the skill position, the receivers, the quarterbacks, some big guys on the offensive and defensive front. This is a great looking group of kids in the 9th grade.
Brett, I said this last week on the show. I said this is the expectation level for this year is very, very high, and that's how you want it each and every year. But my expectation level over the next 3 or 4 years are just as high as this year. I know we've got a great quarterback coming back and some great skill position guys that will be seniors this year, so you want to take advantage of that. But the beautiful thing about a good program and Danny Horn as your coach is you expect to win each and every year. I looked at the 9th grade group last year. A lot of those kids are playing in this game also as they'll move up into the 10th grade. I was talking to Michael Blake the other night. I said, Michael, how many 10th graders do you expect to play? He said, a whole bunch of them. He said if any of them play like they've been playing in the spring, then we're going to have to find a place to put them on the field. When you're talking about the 8th grade group coming up, there's several kids that stand out to you. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about some of them. One of them's quarterback Cole Grogan.
Absolutely.
Is a big kid, was exceptional this year in soccer up on the varsity level where he scored 35 goals, I think, as an 8th grader on the varsity soccer team. And you know the skill position that you're going to see there. Another is a name that we all remember, and it's his son, Timmy Lawson, and Timmy is exceptionally good in all 3 sports. He's a tremendous football player. We've already seen him catch about a 75-yard touchdown pass from Cole a little bit earlier on. An exceptional basketball and baseball player also. We may see him up as a 9th grader. His father actually led a 9th grade group to an undefeated season, and we saw him move on up as a 9th grader that year. So he's a little bit bigger kid, I think, than his father was, and I think Timmy would be excited about that, and that's a good thing. But there's just a lot of talent out there. The lines for both of these teams also. Brett, we'll talk about that when the varsity gets out a little bit later, but the lines that we have to work with, I think, are going to be something that's going to help us out in the next few years also.
Well, and that's a good place to start because in football, you got to have it up front to have a chance. You can be good at the quarterback position and the tailback position and wide receivers, but if you don't have enough time to get plays underway, it doesn't really matter. And on the defensive side of the ball, you've got to be able to get pressure on these quarterbacks. You've got to be able to disrupt these spread offenses because that's predominantly what you're going to face in high school football now. It's trickled into college football, and it's even trickling into the NFL now. A lot of people said you'd never see that at the NFL level, but you saw last year there were 3 or 4 teams that were in the playoffs, San Francisco being one of them, that ran basically a spread type offense with Colin Kaepernick. And that's what we're going to do here with Danny Horn, but we're not just a spread type team. We're versatile. He still likes to go into power formations. We'll line up in the wing T sometimes. We'll line up in the wishbone. We'll line up in the straight eye. Sometimes we'll be in the pistol formation and we'll be spread and go 5 wide in the shotgun. So when you play Benjamin Russell, you've got to be able to cover all those different formations. What makes it so difficult is why we were 11-2 last year.
I'm sorry, as I look down the list, so many new names, so many 10th graders that are coming up to be 10th graders this year. I don't know their numbers. I do know that I look out on the field, and I want to mention a couple of them. As you see Sean Rape right here, we saw him kick last year. He's already caught about a 50-yard pass earlier, can run a little bit of everything. I think we'll see him play some quarterback here tonight that they've been able to do. But the line is where I think that you may get immediate help. And I'm not saying that they'll be a starter this year, but you're always wanting to go too deep on the line. One of them, number 74, and that's Daniel Bland. Is a big kid, 6'2", about 250, 260, a 9th grader going up as a 10th grader. Another huge kid out there is number 67, Anthony Parker. This kid's probably 6'4", I'd guess, 260 or 270. Just a lot of meat, and that's what you want. I know we got a tremendous coach in Tal Morrison. These kids have been playing together a long time once we get to the varsity level, but when you've got the younger guys like this, you're able to key in there also. That's going to be a big thing.
Well, you look at the offensive and defensive lines, and when you're talking about being a big guy at this age, these guys aren't out of shape. This isn't flab. These guys are lean and mean. There's some height on these guys. They're muscular. They've got big legs. They've got good push. They've got good footwork. It takes good footwork to be a good offensive lineman. If you have Coach Morrison over here, he'd tell you that'd be the one thing that he wants is you got to be able to move. We saw a left tackle that was undersized last year that started for us, and it was because of his footwork. It was because of his knowledge of where he needed to be and how he conducted pretty much the rest of the offensive line. He was one of the leaders on that offensive front. You ain't got to be the biggest guy out there, but it is very important that you know your assignment.
We met Jace McCaleb, and Jace, a tremendous kid, very smart kid. He weighs about 180 pounds now. He said that he put on 30 forced pounds to play offensive tackle last year, which would have put him around 215 to 220. Now I'd say he's 180, maybe 185 pounds. But the difference that you see with some of these kids that we have out there, they're 10th graders. They're naturally this big. They're 6'2", 6'3", already weigh 250, 260. It's not forced on weight. Jace, that's amazing to be able to do that. When you and I were talking to him, and we met him during the Alexander City Sports Foundation, we had our interviews to give out the scholarships. He was one right there at the top, along with everybody else that we interviewed. I mean, it was almost impossible to pick a boy and a girl there. But to talk about putting on 30 pounds that is not natural to your body and in a natural way is very tough to do. But look at 67 out there, Brett.
No, I mean, a big kid. And, if somebody wants to have a comparison of what you're talking about, look at David Pollock that played for Georgia as a defensive end for the Georgia Bulldogs. If you see him now on ESPN, you'd have never thought, if you hadn't seen him play football before, that he was a defensive end in college because he lost 50 or 60 pounds and he slimmed down and that's what you have to do. There's a lot of discipline that goes in, but especially at the high school level for a kid to gain 30 forced pounds, that's hard to do. And, when he walked in his interview, you'd have never thought he played left tackle at a 5A school, but that just kind of goes to the credit of what they do here in this program with these coaches and these players. Randy, we got a great show coming up here from the Sportsplex. We're excited. Everybody's joined us here tonight on 97.5 Kalijah Country, and everybody will also be able to see this replayed coming up this week and throughout the summer as we get ready for a big upcoming football season here in Alexander City with the Benjamin Russell Wildcats. A ton of expectations, no doubt about it. I know coaches don't like for us to talk about it. I got kind of scolded yesterday on the Hill because that's coach speak, but I mean, you can't ignore what we've got coming in this year and what we did last year, and it sets up good. So we're going to break it down. We're going to talk about last year. That's where we're going to start when we come back from break, and then we're also going to talk about some of the guys that had superlative years last year, whether they were seniors that moved on to go on to other places or some of the returning guys that we'll see out here in just a little bit. The Champions Challenge, we'll talk about that. We'll get the invitation to go to the Champions Challenge this year. That's a feat in itself, and that kind of sets the benchmark. That kind of tells you where our program is. When you get invited to that game, that kind of sends a message to everybody that this is a team that's in consideration going into the season for a state championship. And, of course, we're going to break down the 2013 schedule and how we feel like it's going to play out. And some great home games coming in to the Sportsplex is coming up here.
We've got the mural back here behind us. We've got the state championship numbers, 53, 60, and 2001. And hopefully in the next few years we'll add a couple of more up there. That's expectation level you want. Trust me, you don't want it where you're trying to scratch your head and figure out where the next win's coming
from.
That's right. You want it where you go into the season. Look, I've said this, and we're not a coach, so it's a little bit easier on us. But if a kid doesn't have enough in him to try to play hard and try to do his best each and every week, the kid just doesn't have much about him. So, I kind of get into thinking, but I'd rather expect to play well, and I think that's what we're looking for.
Well, Coach Horn said that. I don't think he'd mind me telling everybody yesterday in the closing speech after they wrapped up practice. He said, that one thing that you got to do is you got to come out here and expect to be good. You got to come out here and expect to put hard work in. And he said, the ones of you out here that work your tail off and do what you're supposed to, good things are going to happen. If you don't, then you're not going to get to play. He said it's just that simple. He said, you know me now. Hey, I've been here long enough that you've got to put the work in and you got to earn your spot, and I think everybody can attest to that. We're going to take a break here from the Sportsplex. When we come back on the 2013 Wildcat Football Preview Show, we're going to recap last season. 11-2 region champs. What a great season it was. Stay tuned. More of the preview show and the maroon-white game here from the Sportsplex coming your way right after this.
LMG is a marketing group dedicated to designing successful advertising techniques for all of its clients. LMG can handle any promotional project, from web design and signage to corporate apparel and media exposure. Contact LMG today through their website at leemarketing.net. LMG, success by design.
Welcome back, everyone, to the 2013 Wildcat Football Preview Show in the maroon-white game. Brett Pritchard alongside Randy Lee, and now the principal at Benjamin Russell High School, BRHS. Jay, thanks so much for coming down here on the field and joining us.
Well, good to be here, guys. Great to be here.
Well, I know this is where you'd rather be.
Absolutely.
And you get to look down here on Friday nights and see you down on the field down here supporting the Wildcats, and we'll start there. You're passionate about this school and what these kids are to you and what this program, not only the football program, but the athletic program as a whole. You really care about this whole program.
Well, absolutely. And, athletics and academics, they go hand in hand. And, especially with athletics, it really that kind of so goes athletics. It's just the whole attitude of the community, and you could see that last year as we came out, finished in the third round, 11-2. You could just see throughout the football season and the remainder of the year. I mean, just people in Alex City felt good about themselves, and it was because athletically we were more than competitive. We were one of the names that when people talked about high school football, Benjamin Russell was right there.
Absolutely. In 5A, Randy, we talked about this before. You know, and Jay just said it, morale, it's amazing how a community rallies around its football team, and especially here in the South and in Alabama where high school football is king. And, you know, we went through some lean years there when Coach Horn got here, and he's the first to say it, but I'm proud of what these kids have done and stayed the course and believed in the system.
Well, they definitely have, and I think that's the biggest thing whenever you move forward is the expectation level continues to rise, and not just this year, because we know we got a great senior class, don't we, Jay?
We do.
But, you know, we want to win a lot of years to come.
That's
Not
right.
just this year. We want to win when Jay's kids are up
That's
there,
right.
and his son's the quarterback here. We want to still be winning, and and when my kids come through, and that's the biggest thing about a community is that you do follow and support. And Jay, I'll kick it to you on that. This community steps up and supports this program like no other, I think.
Well, it does, and you know, funny thing, when we went a few places this past year, I can remember when we went to Homewood and then went down to Spanish Fort. The other administrators, when they talked to me, they were just in awe of how many people we brought. And as a matter of fact, I would say that in both of those games, we probably had more than the home team. And you know, especially with Spanish Fort, you're talking 4 hours down there, and we were just packed. And again, that just goes to show that not only the people who maybe have a son, daughter, granddaughter, grandson that are actually competing, whether it be in the band or the cheerleading or actually on the football field, you know, a lot of these people, you know, they just come because they love Alexander City and Benjamin Russell High School football, and that just says a lot. And you don't find that in every community, so we're very fortunate to have that here.
I remember in 2000, we went down to Pine Forest in Pensacola, Florida. They were a three-time national champion team and program, and you pull onto campus and you see the USA Today national championship big banners that they had going into campus, and we show up down there, and of course they won the state championship that year, and we went on to play for a state championship that year. Right. But we had more people in the stands than they did. Sure. Now, granted, it's at the beach, and everybody loves beach trips, but regardless, it doesn't matter where we go and play. We do show up, and I remember everybody saying at Pine Forest that this is one of the biggest crowds our kids have played in front of. Sure. And we came out and started out strong in that game, hit them in the mouth a little bit, something they weren't used to because they were beating people by 40, 50 points every night. So it hadn't just started here lately, and even in the lean times, the stadium fills up, and that's good that you see that people in this community support in the good times and in the bad times.
Jay, I'm not sure. I've heard a lot of people have rewatched and seen the Eufaula game, and I'm not sure if it's because of Brett's call, JD squilling, Justin squilling, and my squilling, or you jumping around on the sideline last year. But that was a fun game, and to win any kind of championship's important, isn't it?
Well, it was, and you know, I probably watched that YouTube video. It's got about 2,000 hits, and I think I've watched it 1,999 times. But it was a great call, and I tell you, you know, the way you guys called that game, I mean, it was just great. Y'all fed off each other, and it just like, of course, y'all been working together a long time, but it was just a great night for us. And yeah, we were in the end zone, corner of the end zone, acting like a bunch of little children. But you know, and that was kind of, guys, the culmination. Although we didn't go as far as we wanted to in terms of, you know, we'd love to have made it all the way to the finals, but to win a region championship, and you know, if you watch that video and you just see the reaction of the fans, the band, and watched our boys, guys, I'm gonna tell you, that's what it's all about. I mean, when you were where we were 3 or 4 years ago, and to see the culmination there, and you follow that night, my goodness, I mean, it you know, other than things like getting married and having children and things like that, that was a night that I'll never forget, and that just, you know, put us where we needed to be, giving us some momentum to going into this year, and obviously we're looking to defend that region title and get in the playoffs and see if we can't move it on down the road a little bit and get to that 15th game.
Jay, you know, there's one other thing I want to pass along, and you're an official here in the state of Alabama, do a tremendous job, and Brett and I are lucky enough to do the Final 48, so we know that not only you're here, but you see statewide, and for us to be invited to the Champions Challenge, which is going to be on a statewide broadcast on television and radio, is a big thing. And I think that it's going to get exposure for our kids, and it's well-deserved. I mean, we're expected to be right there in contention for a state championship this year. So it's not something where we just luckily got invited. And just talk about that a little bit.
Well, we had a good year last year, which obviously brought some attention to us. However, I would be remiss if I didn't mention some of the teams from the past when Coach Sav was here, Coach Lazenby, Coach Martin. Benjamin Russell is a name, again, that people recognize. So from what we've done in the past and what we've done recently, I think that all played a part in it. And, of course, they know that we travel very well. So, again, we're just very honored and looking forward to being there. Of course, we're taking everyone, our cheerleaders, dance team, and band, who the band may not perform on the field, but they'll be up in the stands playing. So it's going to be a Friday night, atmosphere for us. And we're looking forward to it. And as a matter of fact, I talked with Dr. Cooper, our new superintendent, who will be coming starting June the 1st. He and he came by and talked with me for a couple hours, and then we talked about some things. And I assure you that Dr. Cooper is going to be someone who supports athletics wholeheartedly, and he's going to be right in there with us. And before we started talking, I said, Dr. Cooper, I said, now before we get into any conversation, I said, I've got to ask you a question. I said, now when we go to the Champions Challenge, I said, now what colors are you going to be wearing? Because Walker, that's where he came from.
I got you. I didn't know that.
He said he'd have on the maroon. He said, you got to get me some gear. And I said, don't worry, sir. I'll make sure you have it. And I'm looking forward to working with him. And I think he's going to be somebody that's really going to support athletics and do everything he can, because he understands what it means. He understands what athletics means. He's an old coach himself. So I can't wait to get started and work with him and see what we can do.
Well, that's exciting. And, again, we want to welcome Dr. Cooper to the community of Alexander City. And Jay, let's go back. The reason we get invited to the Champions Challenge based off what we did last year. We're 11-2. We won the region. And let's go back and talk about it for just a second, guys. We opened up right here on this field against the Opelika Bulldogs, the renewal of a rivalry. We played them in a spring game a year before, but this one was for real this time. And at that time, we didn't really know how good Opelika was going to be, and then they end up playing at Jordan-Hare Stadium for the 6A state championship. They're a great football team, returning another good football team this year. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But opening up right here, taking that first drive, I will never forget, and going right down the field and scoring a touchdown and setting the tempo, setting the pace for how that game went. And we dominated that game for about 3.5 quarters. Opelika gets on the board late to kind of bring it back a little bit closer. But I was very impressed with how we played. And, it was a 6A versus a 5A. We were used to that. Randy used to playing in that game for so many years. But, regardless of winning or losing, it didn't really affect either team. It was a hard-fought game. We went on to have a successful season, and obviously Opelika did too. But that's where it really kind of started right there. Right.
Well, and, that game was a good game for us. Again, like you said, we weren't sure how good we could be, but Bryant came out, showed some poise, and we were very impressed with that defensively. We stepped up probably one of the biggest plays in the game. We're up 14-7. Opelika's got the ball in our territory, and our playmaker on defense all year, the leader of our defensive football team, Javion Banks, comes up with a big interception right here in front of where we're standing, and that changed the tempo of the game because they were on a little bit of roll, and we needed to gain the momentum back, and Javion did that, and then we were able to grind out a few first downs and take the win. So it was a huge win for us, a huge win.
And closing with Jay here, I want to get his thoughts. Opelika's got a new facility, and you better get there early. If you remember back to the Clay County when we went over there and people were showing up at 4:30 in the afternoon to get in the stadium. I know it's a bigger place over in Opelika, but I'm already hearing some rumblings around. And, Jay, what are you hearing inside the school system? Because I know that they're going to open it up. They'll have a big crowd, and we always travel well to Opelika.
Sure. I mean, it's Dr. Seymour, Farrell Seymour is down there at Opelika. He's a good friend of mine, is the principal. And, we've talked about it, and we definitely are going to need our people to get down there and then be ready to go. And
you got a heckler.
I see Coach Horn there. Yeah, I see Coach. He's heckling me. But our people need to get there early. And again, it's going to be them opening a new stadium, so they're going to be hyped up, and we're going to have to be ready to play that football game. And in a game like that, we're going to have to weather the storm early and just keep the game close, and then hopefully we'll be able to take control as we move through the game.
Obviously, we want to go down there and win the football game, but just as Opelika came in here and lost last year, had no bearing on how the season went. And it'll be a good fun football game to get things started, and we'll have really a football game under our belt going in playing Walker. But excited about the season. We'll have Eufaula here, we'll have Homewood here, and we've got Valley here. So we got some really good football games coming into the Sportsplex as we start to have a little bit of a sprinkle here. Maybe Mother Nature will hold off on the torrential downpour that I saw on the radar. I'm trying not to look at that too much. But, Jay, thanks so much for coming down here to join us, and looking forward to this season.
We are too. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you so much.
Right.
Everybody stay tuned. More of the 2013 Wildcat Football Preview Show, Maroon White game coming your way right after this.
LMG is a marketing group dedicated to designing successful advertising techniques for all of its clients. LMG can handle any promotional project, from web design and signage to corporate apparel and media exposure. Contact LMG today through their website at leemarketing.net. LMG, success by design.
Welcome back, everyone, to the 2013 Wildcat Football Preview Show and the Maroon White game here from the Charles E. Bailey Sportsplex. The ninth grade team in action right now, or just concluding, actually, Randy, and now the varsity is on the field and warming up, and had a little bit of a light shower come through, and we got rain kind of surrounding us all over the radar, but right now, for the most part, still dry here at the Sportsplex. What a great ninth grade game. We were glad to have Jay Reyes on just a minute ago, the principal here at Benjamin Russell, but some great-looking athletes, some good, hey, look, and that was not a sloppy game. That was a well-played scrimmage game, you know, for what it was worth, and a lot of points put up on the board, but some great defensive plays made as well.
You know, Brett, that I like that we've got our numbers back up. You look at the ninth grade, I don't know, I'm guessing 45 players out for the ninth grade. I heard about the eighth grade group. Eighth grade group's got 56 players out this year. That's the seventh grade going up to the eighth grade. That's a great number there. If you're ever around 50 in our community, that's a big number. And if you can maintain 30 to 35 every year, which I think we have 95 out for varsity football this year, that's perfect numbers right there. You'll probably lose 5 to 10 of those. But if you've got 85 to 90, you can't ask for much better. And the top end, as we see right there, they've got the two teams split up a little bit. And this is a defensive-laden team we have right in front of us, and we'll start right there as we move into some of the stats last year. A lot of the kids that we have coming back have been multi-year starters, Brett.
Absolutely, and again, one thing that you notice when you walk up on the hill or as you look out here across the way at this team is it's a huge bunch of kids. I mean, even in the skill position, guys, you got real physical-looking football players. And, you know, one thing that Coach Horn wanted to do when he came here, and he made it very, very known, is we got to get better in the weight room. We got to get better in the off-season before we can think about winning football games. Well, these kids have bought in. This is a physical 6A looking football team. This team can be very competitive in the 6A classification, no doubt about it. Strong, big offensive and defensive fronts. Lots of great skill position guys. I mean, you look at Sturdivant out here as one of the fullbacks. Just a presence out there, and the way they go after each other in practice. We saw some great players last year. I know we'll start there, Randy. We lose Javion Banks, one of our players. We lose Woo Varner over on the defensive side of the football, but we replaced them with some guys. We've got Tobias Russell back this year. He's one of those leaders on defense, but it all starts and stops for Coach Horn-led teams on the defensive side of the football.
Our leading tackler from last year is back. Tobias Russell had 83 stops last year as a junior. You look at Javion Banks, who we did lose, had 80 stops last year, lost a couple of those games in the middle. He would have probably been more around 100 tackles last year if he did not lose those few games. But a lot of great players. Will have to replace the 2 defensive ends. I think that's going to be one of the key things that you'll see this year as we will be replacing 2 ends. Back in the secondary, Quez Alves was exceptional offensively, but I thought he was just as good defensively, Brett, and that's a big thing there. And hopefully we can find a replacement there. I expect Tyreek Norris, and Jay was just kind of kidding with me. I like that kid. I've been saying that. Pac-Man is a player that we can see offensively and defensively as he'll start at a cornerback position. Big, strong kid.
Yeah.
We're talking about 5'9", 175 pounds of good size, good muscle, and got that next little darty next level, and that's what BRHS Alves had last year.
Well, let's be honest about it. If you're looking at the good and the bad of last year, one of the things that we had problems with last year was the secondary in certain times during the year, and Coach Horn, he said it. He said, we've got to get better. Remember LaFleur coming in here in the first round of the playoffs, really, threw the ball extremely well. Their record was a little deceiving coming in because of the opponents they had to play week in and week out in the Mobile area with Viger and St. Paul's and Spanish Fort and the likes of those teams. But you've got to be able to stop the pass. It was tough for us against Spanish Fort and some of these teams that were able to throw the football. Something we got to tighten up this year is we got to defend the pass a little bit better.
I think that it was eye-opening a little bit, and the difference that we see in comparison to when you and I were growing up and playing here is the secondary play, which is where I played. It's played so much differently than the zone that we were able to play back in high school and just cover your deep thirds and not let anybody behind you was really the key that you had every week. Now it's so diversified. You see these guys like the kid that we had for Spanish Fort last year. He's a 5'9", 155-pound kid, has 12 catches for 190 yards against us because he's finding the dead spots in the zones. You got to be able to man up on these guys and keep up with them, and I think we've got some kids that are definitely going to be able to step into that role. That's going to be the biggest thing that you'll see here. Luke Mosley, I'm looking right out here. He's back. He was a good player for us on the defensive line last year. He'll be another really good player that we'll see back this year. We got Varner back in the secondary. Jordan Bolware will be playing a little linebacker and back in the secondary. There's a lot of kids that you can move in and out. But the biggest thing that we'll start with, and we'll talk a little bit more about it, is the 10th grade group. Brett, there are skill position players in that 10th grade group that can move up and play at the varsity level very quickly. We've been watching them since they were in the 7th and 8th grade. We knew it was coming, and they're here. And I'm telling you, you'll see a lot of them on the field this year.
No doubt about it, and I want to go back and add one more comment. We're a little weak in the secondary at times during the year, but one thing that we were really good at was defending against the run. And, teams win and lose games by being able to stop the run. You've got to be able to stop the run first, because if teams are gashing you for 5, 10, 15 yards a carry, then you really are in trouble. You're playing on your heels all night. Strong defensive front. What I was impressed with, Randy, was our ability to get in the backfield and disrupt plays and really not having to blitz. It's just man-on-man strength from our front 4 guys, being able to get in the backfield, allowing our linebackers to roam and make plays, and that's exactly what they did.
Roaming will be Dre Graham.
That's right.
He's a tremendous player. I think he's one of the best players we've got coming back defensively, and that goes without saying. He's been playing for 3 years, had 66 tackles last year at the outside linebacker post, will really, really lay a lick. He's about 5'10", weighs about, I'd guess, 185 pounds now, and you can tell he's been living in the weight room. He's a kid that I would expect to near up to 90 to 100 tackles this year, Brett, and a lot of those behind the line of scrimmage and big plays, especially with a short passing game that you see your outside linebacker gets into the pass defense just as much as he is in run defense now. And so Dre Graham's another great one we've got coming back, and with those number of tackles last year, I'd only expect those to go up.
On the defense, we're staying with the defensive side of the football here, and one thing you've got to be able to do is force turnovers. And when you look at our team the last couple of years, we've been able to create and force turnovers, and naturally when you think of interceptions, a lot of times you think about cornerbacks and safeties. We intercept the football well from the linebacking position, and that tells you a lot about our linebackers, that they're just not wild in running out of position. They play their area the correct way, the way they're coached, and they drop back in zone. I know Javion Banks did it. You look all the way back to Jonathan Birmingham, El Toro Freeman, everybody being able to play that linebacking position, being able to read the plays and play within themselves and make interceptions. We get a ton of interceptions from the linebackers.
Well, it's one thing we don't talk quite as much about, but when you have intermediate routes, which is just little little crossing patterns you have across the middle. The linebackers have to find those guys, and they've got to get into passing lanes. And I think our kids will be able to do that. Tobias Russell's been starting for 4 years for us, so hopefully he's one. He picked up a big interception in the game that we went down to Spanish Fort, gave us a lot of momentum, able to put the ball in the end zone, get it back to a 4-point game, and give us an opportunity, if we stop them inside their 10-yard line, to get the ball back around midfield to go score a winning touchdown. It's all you could ask for against a team that, quite honestly, we had to play perfect to beat, because they ended up showing in the next couple of weeks that they were far superior to anybody else in 5A last year, and I think that honestly they could have gone through 6A and more than likely come out of the South to play Hoover out of the 6A bracket. It's just my opinion there, but a lot of great players that we have back defensively, and a couple of newcomers that we'll see out there. Ryan Jones has played a ton of football here at Benjamin Russell.
And what a playmaker!
He'll make a lot of plays. You know that. You know the Sturdivant boys are going to be able to get in there and get a lot of playing time this year. Rodney Carroll is one that everybody's talking about. He is a ninth grader moving up. He'll be playing safety. A lot of these ninth graders that will be 10th graders will hopefully give Bryant Horn a breather and not make him play quite as much back at safety as he's had to. We know we can go to him. We know he's a tremendous defensive player too, Brett, but to not where he has to each and every week.
One player I'm looking forward to, an underclassman coming up, is Tay Robinson on that defensive front. Strong kid. We've talked about him in the last couple of years, coming up from middle school, plug in the middle of that defensive line. You know, Alabama made a living with it with Terrence Cody. If you can get somebody in there that can just stalemate and kind of stop everything up, it allows people to make plays. But as the captains go out, it was Luke Burkhalter for the Maroon team, and number 25, obviously,
Tobias Russell.
Tobias Russell, our four-year starter here at linebacker for the Wildcats. Going to miss him when he's gone. But we've talked about the defense. We're going to take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about the offense, Randy, because when I look over there at the offensive line, the skill position players, a senior quarterback coming back, a senior tailback, just all the pieces are there to have a great year. So we're going to take a break here. The 2013 Wildcat Football Preview Show, Maroon White game. We come back. We'll break down the offense and give you some updates, what's going on the field. Stay tuned. More to come right after this.
LMG is a marketing group dedicated to designing successful advertising techniques for all of its clients. LMG can handle any promotional project, from web design and signage to corporate apparel and media exposure. Contact LMG today through their website at leemarketing.net. LMG, success by design.
Welcome back, everyone, to the 2013 Wildcat Football Preview Show, the Maroon White game here from the Charles E. Bailey Sportsplex. Varsity game underway now. I want to welcome in Tim Rape now. Hey. Tim, with the Benjamin Russell Quarterback Club. Tim, thanks for coming down here and joining us.
Hey, man, anytime you need it, I'm here. It's football season. That's what I live for. Look at there. Look at that. Hey, boy.
There you go. Hey, why don't you step in and make the call right there? Hey, what a great pass right there. And we get to see a guy move over from the secondary. We'll talk about that. Q Johnson moves over from the secondary and plays receiver and just made a great one-handed catch right here in front of us.
Yeah, he's been working hard, and I know that he's got great hands and great speed if he gets outside. Yeah. I mean, it's phenomenal how much speed we have on the outside this year and in the backside. I mean, it's going to be interesting.
I'm going to tell you something. I know Coach Horn's going to watch this, and he's not going to like what I'm about to say, but it's a good-looking football team, man. I mean, for spring, I mean, physically and skill position-wise, I know everybody's got to work to get better, but, you know, you look at who all we're returning. I mean, so many veterans in key positions. That's what makes a difference. You come out here in the spring when you got seniors and juniors in key positions, and you got a lot of good 10th graders that have played and had a lot of good playing time over the last couple of years. You come out here and you don't look rusty. You don't look like you miss a beat. You kind of just carry right over from what you started from last year or what you ended with last year. And that's what we've seen so far is we see the first drive go right down the field and score a touchdown.
Right. I mean, everything's got to click. I mean, it's in any sport. If it don't click, it's not going to work. And I'm going to tell you something, and this is just my opinion. Last year's season showed these boys what they can do.
No doubt.
And then they have built off of this, and you've seen kids step up. And you talking about the ninth graders, which is going to be coming up sophomores this coming year. Them boys have worked hard.
They really have.
Really hard. And every one of them out there has worked hard. And you're going to see a lot of those sophomores get some playing time this year. I mean, we have big guys. We got strong kids this year. Every one of them, our backers, I know I've talked to Wes and all them, and they said that they are just busting their behinds in the gym.
Well, that's what it takes, and they got a little taste last year. Went to the third round.
Oh, yeah.
Right there in that game, had a chance to beat Spanish Fort. They move on to win the 5A state championship, so they know how close they were.
Yeah.
They know how close we were, and I'm not taking anything away from McAdoo,
Oh,
but
no.
I called that football game for the state network. Randy and I did, and I'm going to tell you right now, if we had a chance to play McAdoo, there's no doubt in my mind who I feel like would have won that football game, and that would have been us. So I would consider ourselves one of the top 3 teams going in, top 3 or 4 teams in the state going in, because you got St. Paul's, who was eliminated in the semifinals by Spanish Fort,
right.
And they're just as good, if not better, than Spanish Fort coming back this year. And then of course you got us, who beat Opelika last year, who
right.
played for the 6A crown. You got 3 or 4 solid 5A teams that have a lot of players coming back, and they're going to contribute for their programs, and we're one of them.
Yeah, I mean, the boys that contribute are the ones that stand over here and don't get a whole lot of playing time.
That's right.
I mean, they are the backbone of this team. If you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, you could go down. I'm praying nobody gets hurt, but it's football. It's a contact sport.
That's right.
And then you got to have somebody step up willing to fill somebody's shoes. And we got kids over here that want to do that. Every one of them want to play.
Absolutely.
I mean, and it's not like it was when I was in school. I mean, I went to New Site, and I think we had 42 kids out there my senior year, and we played every snap.
You had no choice.
You had no choice.
We just see Jamel Hunter get after Bryant Horn right there and force him to an intentional grounding call, and had to throw the football away, but was not out of the pocket, so had to throw the football away. Big offensive lineman, big defensive lineman. You looking for somebody?
I'm trying to say who number 40 is right yonder.
Number 40 is Deion Maxwell.
Deion Maxwell.
Yeah.
19 on Maroon. Where are we at?
19. We'll flip down.
Chase Burton.
Chase
Burton is one of those sophomores that has really come along.
Absolutely.
And everything.
Absolutely. Well, Tim, we'll shift away from talking about what's going on the field. Talk about the quarterback club. I know you want to talk about the backbone of a program. You guys are the backbone of the program. And folks, quarterback club memberships are on sale now, and I know you guys are excited about what this season's coming. There's a lot of energy around this team and around what the expectations are. You can feel it already in the community, people talking about football season, ready for it to get here. How can they join the Benjamin Russell Quarterback Club?
Well, they can join the quarterback club. First of all, a quarterback club is that we do work.
That's exactly right.
I mean, and it's to benefit this football team.
That's right.
It's for Benjamin Russell. I mean, it's for the JV team. It's for the varsity team. It's the meals that gets prepared for them, pregame meals, after-game meals. I mean, quarterback clubs, if you don't want to work,
don't join it.
Don't join it. I mean, because it's work.
That's right.
I mean, and the times are now to where we have to raise money. I wish we didn't have to raise a penny, but we do.
Well, reality is what it is, and everybody's having to do it, but you guys do a great job and with the raffle tickets that you sell and the chances on that. Talk about all that.
Okay. Quarterback club membership is $50, okay? And you are a member for a solid year. We have 4 meetings per year, and you get 2 meals with that. You and someone else.
For each meeting?
Yeah, each meeting, okay? And plus, you get a parking pass. That's going to save you $30 this year just for parking.
There you go.
And it's not the same parking pass that you get with season tickets. Don't get that mixed up, because season ticket passes are in the back parking lot by the trees. Quarterback club, we got the front entrance up here right beside the field.
There you go.
I mean, that's one of the problems being a quarterback club member.
Well, you've already got your money out of the whole deal right there with the meals and the parking pass.
That's
right there is already paid for itself.
Six home games this year. That's $30, man.
That's right.
Who can't use $30? And the $100 raffle tickets go out Monday. All right, that's what we call the drawdown. That helps buy the new equipment. I think a new helmet this year is $450 because of the concussion rule and everything.
Right.
All right. They're $100 a piece, but you get 2 ribeye steak dinners at the Elks Lodge.
Yes. Yep.
And then you go down there, and the last ticket drawn out is $4,000.
And Randy's
cash.
not eligible this year. And we're not drawing his ticket out this year. So.
Well, I sold him the winning ticket last year. I don't know how that came about, but I mean, it's just one of those things. You want to buy a ticket?
There you go. Exactly.
But I mean, what it is fun, and it helps fund fund this football team.
That's right.
And then, unfortunately, it's coming to a time, I think Prattville is $750 to $1,000 per player.
Wow.
So, I mean, you know, and around here, I know Horseshoe Bend has to raise money.
No doubt.
And then Dable raises money. And we've been fortunate all these years, Brett, to where we didn't have to. But, you know, I hate to say this, we need help. We need money.
Well, we do.
The bus trips, I mean, it's expensive on bus trips. And you got 100 kids. You got 2 charter buses. You have to stop and feed. And then you feed them after the ball game. That trip down to Spanish Fort last year, there is no way that I would ever ride a charter bus, but it saved me money riding charter bus.
Well, you got to do what you got to do,
Yeah.
and that's what we have to do in these times. So, but Tim, exciting stuff coming up with the quarterback clubs. We're seeing another deep pass, incomplete into the end zone. But Tim, appreciate you coming down here, talking about the quarterback club, and we're going to continue to promote that on Sports Blitz and all the other stuff. But the raffles, the tickets you said will be available next week.
Yeah, the raffle tickets are available next week. In quarterback club, you can call me or Scott Blake or Bart Jones or Julie Lloyd or Linda or Julie, anybody that you know that's on the quarterback club. Now, we can get you that. But registration at high school, there's going to be a table set up for them. There'll be somebody over there from the quarterback club when you go to Board of Education to buy you season tickets. So there is opportunity, and you can buy one during the season.
That's it. Well, Tim Rake with the quarterback club and master hot dog cooker.
Oh, man. I cooked so many hot dogs yesterday, I don't even want to see one.
Tim, thanks so much for coming
man.
down here. Appreciate it. Tim Rake with the quarterback club. Stay tuned. More of the Maroon-White game coming your way right after this.
LMG is a marketing group dedicated to designing successful advertising techniques for all of its clients. LMG can handle any promotional project, from web design and signage to corporate apparel and media exposure. Contact LMG today through their website at leemarketing.net. LMG, success by design.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Charles E. Bailey Sportsplex for the 2013 Wildcat Football Preview Show, the Maroon-White game. Brett Pritchard and Randy Lee here. I want to thank Tim Rake for coming back down here a little bit ago and talking about the quarterback club and the backbone of this program, Randy. And $50 memberships, the $100 raffle tickets will be available for people to purchase next week. So all these funds go to help these trips, the bus rides, the meals that they feed the kids before and after the games. Just a lot of expense when you got 100 kids, 100 football players, equipment, things that go into this program. So to make us a championship-type program.
A lot of restaurants out there that offer up their time and their services for this group, as we'll have pregame meals throughout the year too. So you make sure to go out and shop locally, buy locally. The money goes back into our programs like this. You can look at all the sponsorship signs that we'll have up back here. There'll be probably 40 of them whenever the season starts, and all those people give money that is going directly to the program. And, Brett, it costs $300-400 a helmet, and another couple $100 for shoulder pads. I mean, it's nothing to get upwards of $800 to $1,000 to uniform each kid out there in the top equipment. So very important that you do that. I'll talk a little bit about what we're seeing out here, and Brett, throwing the ball around a lot, aren't they?
Well, it is, and that's the thing we talked about probably about 45 minutes to an hour ago. Great catch off the turf right there by Rod Hunter, but some big, long, lanky receivers that we're being able to see out here. Q Johnson moves over from secondary. He just made an outstanding. Tim called it, did a great job, by the way. Right here, I'm going to move him on into the booth. Good call right here as Q makes a one-handed catch going into the end zone for a touchdown. It was well covered. Bryant threw a good pass, and Q made a good catch there, but versatile at the receiver post. I mean, you got some guys out there that are going to be able to make some plays and some new names that we're going to be able to see. Marquise Odom just made a catch just a minute ago. You see Bobby Tapley split out. Of course, Tyreek Norris. He's Pac-Man, we'll call him. Randy, you look across, and my goodness, at the weapons that Bryant Horn has, and then out of the backfield, you got some backs that can drift out of the backfield and catch the football. So he's got 5 or 6 guys at any point in time. When we want to go to this formation and spread out the defense, it's tough to defend when you got a senior quarterback and these type of receivers.
Well, one of our top receivers coming back from last year, Buki Ford, he's back as a senior this year, and a tall, lanky kid, and every time the ball's thrown his way, seems like he comes down with it. That's a big thing. Rod Hunter will be back again. Marquise Odom's a tremendous athlete. He'll be back. You'll see a slot position guy this year.
Wide open.
I expect to see, and that's Marquise Odom on a long wheel route down the right sideline that he'll take in for about a 50, 60-yard touchdown pass. And I'm telling you, this kid's good. He's good at center field. He was an all-area player in baseball this year. He's just a very, very good athlete. But when I look over on the left side also, just a ton of great receivers that you're going to see coming up also. And haven't seen them a lot. It's Austin Munkus.
Yeah.
I think Bobby Tapley will see a lot of playing time this year, and it's just good to have a versatile group that you can put out there.
And you can see what a senior quarterback can do. Good pump fake there. Got the corner to come bite up. And Marquise Odom did the rest. And Brian Horn, as we saw all last year, put it right on the money. And as fast as Marquise is, he took it the distance. So, Randy, that's just one element of our offensive attack, is being able to spread it out. We threw for about 120, 130 yards a game last year. We run the football first, though. We're going to run the football. That's what Coach Horn wants to center everything around. And all the way back to the old days, even in the spread offense. Now, you've got to be able to run the football. We averaged a little over 200 yards a game rushing the football. So the running attack sets up the ability to throw the football.
Well, Brian Horn last year, he threw the football well, and he ran the football well. He threw for right at 1,600 yards last year, 10 touchdowns and 4 interceptions on the season. But rushing the football, he's able to run for about 475 yards also. A ton of touchdowns rushing the football also, and I think that's a big thing, as Brian Horn had 12 touchdowns running the ball last year, so 22 combined touchdowns that he was available for right there. A lot of those were under the center. He's such a big kid that he's able just to kind of lean forward and get it into the end zone. But it's great to see what we're seeing out there with running the football. LeBrinican Johnson will be your tailback this year. Big kid, weighs about 205, 210, had right at 700 yards rushing last year, had 19 total touchdowns, catches the ball extremely well, as you saw against Eufaula out of the backfield. Pac-Man will move out and play that slot that you saw LeBrinican in last year. He has the next gear. He's the next gear guy, but LeBrinican's going to be a bruiser, and he'll get the ball in his hands a lot more this year.
Absolutely, and we see the Maroon team now quarterbacked by Sean Rape, who was a strong place kicker last year, is an understatement for us as a ninth grader. Of course, you'll have Colin Sharp and Sean both kicking the football this year, and Colin has really come on. Our special teams, Bryant Horn back punting the football, so I love our special teams, our return game, and all that. But Sean getting some action now as the backup quarterback for the varsity team as a 10th grader. We see a little option action going on now. You've seen Bryant run this spread and this shotgun formation. Now you've got Sean and this team trying to run the option to the right and left, and Coach Horn has made no bones about it. He loves the option. We saw Bryant Horn run it extremely well last year, Randy. It's hard to defend when you get it going well.
I think Bryant runs it as well as anybody that we've heard, and a lot of the colleges that are looking at Bryant, it's kind of funny that they are those type of skill position teams. You see the Vandy's and the Georgia Techs, and I know there's a lot of other teams out there of interest in a lot of our kids this upcoming year, but Brett, he runs the option as well as I've ever seen anyone in high school, and the biggest thing is not that he has blazing speed, but is reading the ends and deciding whether to give or to pull the football is a very, very hard thing to do in general, but he does it extremely well, and I think that's one thing that separates us from the teams that will play throughout the year, say in Opelika in week 1. You don't see that from the Opelika quarterback.
No.
He does throw the ball well down the field, but you don't have that kind of versatile attack where you expect to see him run the football. He's not that guy, and I think that is one thing that will separate us from a lot of teams this year.
No doubt about it. 7-7 here, 7 minutes to go here in the first half. Both teams have been able to manage a touchdown, and you're seeing multiple offensive sets just like we're going to see and just like all of our opponents are going to see throughout the season. It's going to be something that's hard to defend. It was hard to defend last year, but it's good to see the kids moving around and playing different positions and just a lot of guys that you can substitute in and out in different places. But we'll take a break here, Randy. We've got about 15 more minutes or so to go here from the Sportsplex, and we'll call it a night. But it's been a great atmosphere here. A little bit of rain starting to fall now here at the Sportsplex. It's held off for the most part, but we'll go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll finish it up. Stay tuned. More of the Maroon-White game from the Sportsplex right after this. Welcome back, everyone, to the 2013 Wildcat Football Preview Show, the Maroon-White game. A little suspension here, 4:10 to go in the first half. Lightning around the stadium, so we're going to wrap it up here. We've been going for about an hour and 15 minutes or so, and we're glad everybody's joined us here on 97.5 Kalijah Country as we get set for an exciting 2013 football season coming everybody's way. We'll start out in Montgomery with the Champions Challenge, Randy, on August the 23rd at 7 o'clock. That's a Friday night at Crampton Bowl. We'll play Walker High School, and Walker High School had a good year last year. They won their region, but we go into that ball game expecting to win, obviously, and it doesn't count. It's a glorified scrimmage, but it is one where you get statewide recognition on TV and radio.
Yeah, that 5A game will be Friday night.
Yep.
You'll have a couple of games Saturday. I think this is the 5th year that we've been able to do this game, and looking forward to being over to Crampton Bowl. It's a beautiful venue. Glad our kids can go back over and play at the new venue at Crampton Bowl, and it'll be a great night. Expect to travel well. The state of Alabama, the AHSA, expects us to travel well. The more that you can go out to events like this and put on a good face for Alexander City and Benjamin Russell, the more people chirp about us. Give a quick story. I know we're up against the close of the program, but just give a quick story about the Spanish Fort coach coming up to you during the Super Six last year.
Yeah, Coach Freeman, had a chance to spend some time with him in the pre-game, and, what a great guy, Mark Freeman, and he talked about, what a special program we had here at Benjamin Russell and how impressed he was with the crowd that came down and how classy we were and how what a great football game it was. But I've got a lot of respect for him. He runs a clean ship down there, and they've got a good football program there as well. They got a good baseball program, good soccer program. They've got it going at Spanish Fort, but we do too here at Benjamin Russell. So two very comparable communities, one all the way down obviously around the Mobile area, one up here in central Alabama. But we're excited about the opportunity to hopefully play them again in the playoffs, Randy, but during the regular season, we'll be on the road first at Opelika, and then some of the home games, everybody get their tickets, their season tickets when they go on sale. You don't want to miss this home schedule, and it's going to be packed here every game. You're going to have some teams coming in like Rehoboth, some teams that have never been here before, but you got Valley coming here. You've got Homewood coming here to end the season, which is one of our biggest rivals over the last 15, 20 years. You've got Eufaula, who were the region runner-ups last year. We went there, so they'll come here and want to spoil our opportunity this year. So you got some really good football games that'll be right here on the turf at the Charles E. Bailey Sportsplex. You need to get your season tickets. It's going to be an exciting season. Looking forward to it. I want to end at Bryant-Denny Stadium at the state championship game. That's obviously all of our goals. It would be great to start at the Champions Challenge and then at Bryant-Denny Stadium for the state championship game and against whoever. It doesn't really matter. I just want to be there.
Make sure to stay tuned in all season long. WKGA 97.5 Kalijah country. WAXC Television will have the replays there. You can go to ihigh.com/Benjamin Russell. You can pick up all of the football games online as well, and we appreciate everyone out there, including John Kennedy, first and foremost, for allowing us to do programs like this. Very lucky here in the Alexander City community to have a station owner for TV and radio that loves sports and wants us to put as much of it on there as possible.
That's right.
So make sure to thank him if you see him out there, because he doesn't have to do this. And, again, be looking for the kids this year. We had Kyle Robinson that was down
That's
here
right.
and talking to us a little bit. Throughout the next year, they're going to produce and broadcast and have a broadcast team out for all of the high school games that they choose to shoot this next year. It'll be kids like you and I when we were in high school wanting to do this, just out and learning and taping their own games and putting it online and being able to show that. And I think that the kids and the community will really enjoy it.
More exposure for all the programs, maybe some volleyball, some softball, some whatever, like you said, that they want to put on there. But it's been fun here from the Sportsplex. Again, that's going to wrap it up here, the spring football game, the maroon-white game, the Wildcat football preview show, Randy. Before we know it, it'll be August 23rd, and we'll be ready to kick off the regular season, starting with the Champions Challenge and then on the road at Opelika. But, again, a lot of excitement around this team. We are in a weather delay here, but we're going to sign off here from the Sportsplex. For Randy Lee and our producer, Justin Clayton, we've enjoyed it. We hope you have. See you for the regular season coming up August 23rd.